You ever feel just completely paralyzed by a decision? Stuck between what you feel like you have to do and what your heart just can't bear? Well, believe it or not, there's a 3,000-year-old guide for that exact feeling. Today, we're going to crack open the Bhagavad Gita, but we're not looking at it as some dusty old religious text. Think of it more like a user's guide, a manual for that war that wages not out there on some battlefield, but right inside your own head.
And it all starts right here. Picture this. One of history's greatest warriors, a guy named Arjuna, is on the edge of the biggest battle of his life. He has it all. Celestial weapons, a divine chariot, even the god Krishna himself as his personal driver. And right at that critical moment, he just completely breaks down. He says those 4 simple words, "I will not fight." So why? What could possibly make a warrior like that just give up?
Well, it's because this isn't just any battle. It's a civil war. And Arjuna's crisis, this deep, profound despair, it sets the stage for one of the most powerful spiritual lessons ever recorded. So, let's really dive in. What we're going to do is translate this ancient conflict into a kind of blueprint, something you can actually use to navigate and maybe even win your own inner battles.
All right, Section 1, A Warrior's Ultimate Crisis.
So, just try to imagine this. You're looking across a battlefield, and you see the faces of people you love. Your cousins, the ones you grew up with, your teachers, the people who taught you everything you know. That's what Arjuna is seeing, his own family, his own blood. He's trapped in this totally impossible situation, stuck between his duty as a warrior to fight for what's right and his love for the very people he's now supposed to kill. And that's the real source of his despair.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, the battle for I.
So here's where things get really interesting. The interpretation we're looking at completely reframes this whole story. The famous battle of Kurukshetra? It's not just a literal war for a kingdom. No, it's a symbolic war. It's the struggle for the birth of the individual self, the I. It's really about that painful but totally necessary process of breaking away from the group identity. Your family, your tribe, your traditions, so you can finally figure out who you are as an individual.
And this powerful drive for self-realization, our source gives it a name, the Krishna impulse. And get this, it's not just some human desire. It's seen as a divine push, a whole new wave of consciousness being introduced to humanity. See, before this, your identity was totally collective. You were your family, your bloodline. Your personal dreams, they didn't really matter. But Krishna shows up and basically says, nope, the rules have changed. The new mission is to realize your personal self.
And here's a way to think about it that makes total sense. This ancient, cosmic impulse, it's pretty much the same energy that makes a teenager argue with their parents and say, I have to live my own life. It's that powerful, almost primal rebellion against the old ways, against what the family expects, so you can forge your own path. It is literally the birth of the I, fighting to break free from the we. Next up, Section 3, 3 Paths to Truth.
So to guide Arjuna out of this mess, Krishna starts with the world he already understands, the world of Veda. You can think of this as like the old world operating system. It's a monistic system, which means everything is believed to come from one single divine source. Life is all about divine revelation, absolute rules, and really strict social hierarchies. Your job isn't to innovate, it's to obey. You follow the rituals, you do your duty, and that's that. This is the collective world that the new individual I has to push against.
Then, to help Arjuna understand what's happening inside him, Krishna gives him a map of reality itself. This is called Samkhya, and it's totally different from Veda. It's not monistic, it's a dualistic philosophy. It says that everything in the entire universe comes from the interaction between 2 big principles. Purusha, which you can think of as pure, unchanging spirit, and Prakriti, which is primal, ever-changing matter. And finally, if Sankhya is the map, then yoga is the path. It's how you actually walk it. Yoga is the hands-on, practical discipline you use to win that inner war. It gives you the actual techniques to control your mind, to manage your senses, to act without getting hung up on the results, and ultimately, to free that spirit from its entanglement with matter.
So how does our consciousness even come to be? Well, this Samkhya model gives us a fascinating kind of cosmic flowchart. It all starts with pure spirit, or prahusha, coming into contact with raw matter, or prakriti. When they interact, it sparks what's called buddhi, which is just pure awareness. Then, out of that awareness, the ego is born, our sense of I am, which in Sanskrit is ahamkara. And finally, this I develops a mind and senses, or manas, so it can actually experience the world. It's like a step-by-step cosmic recipe for creating us.
Okay, so how does our inner spirit actually relate to the physical stuff we're made of? The connection is defined by these three qualities, or gunas, as they're called. The metaphor here is a sword and a sheath. First, you have sattva, which is clarity. Here, the spirit is like a sharp sword that just pierces right through a thin paper sheath. Its presence is totally obvious. Then there's rajas, which is action or passion. Now the sheath is like leather. You can still feel the sword is in there, but it's a bit muffled, it's contained. And finally, you have tamas, which is inertia or darkness. Here, the sheath is so thick and heavy, you wouldn't even know a sword was inside at all. The spirit is completely hidden.
All right, so Krishna has laid out the rules of the old world, he's given Arjuna this incredible map of reality, and he's explained the nature of his own inner self. That's all the theory, right? But now for the big question. How do you actually do it? How does a person go from that state of tamas, totally paralyzed and stuck, all the way to sattva, where their spirit is free and clear?
And that brings us to section 4, the way of the yogi. Krishna lays out a really clear set of instructions. First, and this is the most famous one, act, but without being attached to the results. You do your duty simply because it is your duty, not because you're hoping for a reward or you're afraid of failing. Second, you practice moderation in everything. Don't eat too much or too little, don't sleep too much or too little. It's all about finding that balance. Third, you've got to still that restless mind of yours and rein in your senses that are constantly pulling you in a million directions. And finally, number 4, you cultivate equanimity. You learn to see everything and everyone with an equal, steady eye.
And that's the ultimate goal of this equanimity. It's about reaching a state of inner peace so deep that the world's ups and downs just lose their grip on you. To someone who has achieved this, a true yogi, a clump of dirt, a simple stone, and a bar of solid gold, they're all the same. They're perceived with the exact same steady, untroubled mind. There's no attachment, no repulsion. There's just being.
All right, last section. Section 5, your inner battlefield. Let's bring all this home. So, what's the big takeaway here? This particular interpretation sees the Gita's main message, realize yourself, as an absolutely crucial first step for human consciousness. The argument is that you can only truly move on to that other great spiritual directive, save others, after you have first mastered yourself. From this point of view, the journey has to start from the inside out.
So really, the most crucial point is this. When you look at it through this lens, the Bhagavad Gita becomes this radical call for an inner revolution. The battlefield isn't some patch of dirt. It's your own psyche. The weapons aren't swords and arrows, they're self-control and wisdom. And the victory? It's not winning a kingdom of land, but winning the kingdom of a mastered self. Real freedom, it seems, isn't found by trying to fix the world out there, but by winning the war that's raging inside.
In the end, when Arjuna finally gets it, he picks up his bow. He's ready to fight. But he's not fighting a war against his family anymore. He's fighting a war for his own soul. The Gita offers a map for that very same inner victory. So the final question it really leaves for every single one of us is, what's the first step on your path